Good evening. I'd like to welcome the audience and the board to the March 22nd, 2016 Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. I ask now that you please stand while Coach Williams says the pledge and the invocation. Invocation first.
Gracious Father in heaven, again, we come giving thanks for another blessed day and another opportunity to serve. Thank you for your suffering, your dying, your shedding blood for the remission of our sins. And forgive us our sins and those who have sinned against us. And we come tonight, Lord, asking a special blessing upon this board and upon this staff, and those who have come seeking decisions to help whatever problems they have. But most of all, we pray for those who suffer throughout the floods in our community and our state. And we ask that you have mercy upon them and provide for their needs, their financial and spiritual needs at this moment. And this we offer as our prayer in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christy, would you do the roll call, please?
Chair Elijah Gilry,
Here.
Vice Chair Jake Porche,
Here.
Miss Betty Brown, Miss Latricia Cobb,
Here.
Miss Julia Dickerson,
Here.
Miss Sharon Galicia,
Here.
Mr. Art Little,
Here.
Mr. Gary Navarre,
Here.
Mr. Kirk Smith,
Here.
and Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is an 11-member board. It'll take the majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless there is a tie. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone, state your name, address, and nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicants need to fill out a blue request to appear form located in the back of this room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there is a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speakers request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. Preliminary subdivision approvals and zoning exceptions and variances are final tonight. The rezoning cases, the study, and the amendment to Chapter 26 will go before the police jury for final action on March 24, 2016. This meeting is being taped by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Corliss and Grand Lake. We ask now that you please turn off all electronic devices. I would also like to mention that item number 8, which is VA 03010-16, a request by Charles Donaldson, Jr., is withdrawn tonight and will not be discussed this evening. Also, case number 10, which is EX 06003-16, a request by Emma Arsenault, is also withdrawn tonight and will not be discussed this evening. If you are here for those 2 items, you may leave at this moment if you would like. And of course, you could stay, but if you'd like to leave, you can. So, all right. Item number 5, take appropriate action on a request by Country Meadow Estate Subdivision Phase 1 for preliminary subdivision approval to allow a single-family residential subdivision in the 3900 block of Ardoin Road in Ward 8. I'll entertain a motion to approve with stipulations. Mr. Porche has moved. I need a second. Ms. Cobb has second. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Manchester area and encompasses 17 acres of agricultural zone land. The developer would like to subdivide the land into 15 one-acre lots. Because the development meets the minimum lot size requirements in agricultural zoning, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development is subject to an application for and/or compliance with an LPDES stormwater discharge permit, which may be required through the Department of Environmental Quality or the Division of Planning and Development, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required in accordance with parish codes, and that the preliminary plat must be approved by the Division of Engineering prior to submittal of engineering plans.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to that request? Okay, we do have one blue card from Kelly Trahan. You can come up to the microphone. Please state your name and your address, please, and the nature of your concern.
Thank you. Kelly Trahan, 7976 Metzger Road, and I'm speaking on behalf of the area homeowners. We do have a few concerns and would request postponing approval until a drainage impact study could be done, also a traffic study. The property, the road coming into that development area floods immensely during rains into the yards. There are several houses that it does flood up to their porches and has almost gone into the homes. And it is basically a one-way in, one-way out. The adjoining road is only paved in front of about 8 houses, and then it's gravel on the other ends, which most people are not going to use on a daily basis to travel back and forth to their homes. We also would like to see, from the application, it states that there would be a possibility of mobile homes, and we would like to see that removed from the application. And also, on the request for a waiver of the stormwater detention, since there is a flooding issue out there, we would really like to see that study done prior to moving forward with this plat and subdivision. We would also, as the homeowners, would like to see the lots be larger. I understand that they do conform with the minimum requirements. There's 2 developments that are on the Ardware Road and Metzger Road that the minimum acreage is 3 acres and they go upwards of 10. And so we would just like to see them be more conformed with what is already out there. I personally moved out there because of the ruralness of the area. My husband and I lived a few miles away in a subdivision that had 1 acre lots and chose to move farther to have that more country feel to our lifestyle. And the area residents are all in agreement that that is something that we would like to see in this subdivision.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Trahan?
Just a couple comments for you, Ms. Trahan. This is preliminary subdivision approval, so I can turn it to the staff, but a lot of your concerns will be addressed in the next phase. This is just determining if this is proper land use, and the subdivision appears to be, in my opinion. But if the staff could comment on the next steps that would involve traffic study, drainage, and as far as the engineering part of the next phase.
Well, on the drainage component, the way our ordinance is written, there are certain thresholds that folks can meet to get a waiver from the drainage impact analysis. Now, there's no waiver from the way a drainage system is designed. They have to, no matter what, design it in accordance with their regulations. But the actual analysis that would show that there's no net increase, that's only done if they can't meet one of the waivers.
Right.
Now, their engineer tells us in his letter that a preliminary review of the storm drainage for the site leans toward requesting a waiver in lieu of stormwater detention. So he's not telling us here, and he hasn't submitted the calculations to support a waiver request. He's just telling us that he intends to do that work. And as you're saying, typically, we do require that drainage impact analysis as part of the engineering plan review. So before the developer would be approved to start construction,
Right.
they would have to do the drainage impact analysis. They would have mitigation measures in place that would be called for by the DIA. And the engineering department has also stated that they would like to require a gravity drainage district approval letter before it even moves on. So there's a lot of checks and balances in place there. As far as a traffic impact analysis, I really don't know that even with the second phase that it would trigger that. Our threshold is actually 1,000 trips per day. And our engineering department tells us that typically they figure 10 cars per lot, so I think that puts us right around 500. So it's not even halfway
Right.
to that threshold. So I suppose it's up to y'all if y'all would want to require that, but it might be an added expense for them to spend 10 or 15,000 on a study to say the roads are
You never
fine.
know, yes.
Right. So does that
Well-
answer your questions?
Yes, and as far as with the traffic, the road, I'm sure, can handle traffic. This is a very farmed area where you have, cattle trailers, tractors coming down on a daily basis, and the proposed wattage that they're ultimately proposing will more than double what is already out there.
Okay.
Questions I have?
Any- say again?
That's all the questions.
Any other questions? You had a question? Okay. Any other question from Mr. Rand? Thank you. Maybe seated. Does the applicant, as the applicant here would like to mention anything, would like to address? Come on up. Please state your name and.
My name's Eric Connor. I'm at 3200 Vincent Road. I'm with Connor Engineering, and I'm representing the applicants. The applicants have already mentioned one item is the mobile home issue is not
You
going
can
to be.
speak up a little bit, please.
The mobile homes are not going to be an issue. That they've already removed that, or I don't think they even realized it was on there. So the mobile homes is not going to be an issue. As far as the number of lots that are shown on there, is it 15? It should be 15, right? Okay.
Yes, I was talking about in both phases.
Oh,
So
okay.
even with the second phase, I didn't see where
Yeah,
it would
not
trigger the
gonna be.
traffic impact.
And then the drainage impact study would be carried out after the preliminary plat is approved.
Okay.
So that, I don't think the applicants want to move forward until the preliminary plat's approved, and then they'll move into the drainage impact study.
Yes. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Connor? All right. Thank you, sir. All righty. Any other questions of the board? Okay. No other questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item approves. Item number 6, take appropriate action on request by Dreamview Estates, Phase 3 for preliminary subdivision approval to allow a single-family residential subdivision in the 3,000 block of North Perkins Ferry Road in Ward 1. I will entertain a motion to approve with stipulation.
So moved.
Mr. Navarre has moved. I need a second. Mr. Porsche has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Moss Bluff area and encompasses 14 acres of agricultural zone land. The developer would like to subdivide into 33 lots ranging in size from 12,000 square feet to 16,000 square feet. The lots do not meet the minimum standards for A1 zoning. Therefore, the developer is also requesting a rezoning to R1 single-family residential. Because the development meets the requirements for single-family residential, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the customary stipulations that the development is subject to an application for and/or compliance with an LPDES stormwater discharge permit, that a DIA and a TIA may be required in accordance with parish codes, and that the preliminary plat must be approved by the Division of Engineering prior to submittal of engineering plans.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? Okay, we don't have any blue cards on this. Any questions or comments by the board? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, it passes. Item number 6 passes. Item number 7, take appropriate action on case RZ 01004-16, a request by Cross Diversified Development Corporation et al. to rezone from A1 to R1 to allow a single-family residential development, which is Dreamview Estates Phase 3, in a 3,000 block of North Perkins Ferry Road in Ward 1. Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Mr. Little has moved, Coach
Second.
Williams has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Coach Wright. I'm getting myself. Okay. Ms. Wallace.
The staff recommends the request be granted.
Go ahead.
That's it.
Okay. All right, now I can say it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, that's passed. We've already announced that item number 8 has been withdrawn. Item number 9, take appropriate action on case EX 06-002-16, a request by Jason Gunter for an exception to allow a borrow pit of 15 acres at 1152 Bud Bennett Road in Ward 6. A motion to approve with stipulations?
So moved.
Ms. Cobb has a
Second.
motion. Ms. Porsche has second. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Edgerly area and encompasses 126 acres of agricultural zone land. Upon completion, the borrow pit will be used as a personal use pond. Because the surrounding land uses are agricultural, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122, 1F4, I through XII of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that permitting is subject to Gravity Drainage District Number 6 of Wards 5 and 6 approval.
Okay. Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? Okay. We don't have any blue cards on this. Any questions or comments by the board? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item passes. I mentioned earlier that item number 10 has been withdrawn. Item number 11, take appropriate action on case EX 01-004-16, a request by Arlen Levi for an exception to allow commercial development, mini warehouses, at 2096 North Perkins Ferry Road in Ward 1. Entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb has motion.
Second.
Mr. Navarro has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Moss Bluff area and encompasses just over 5 acres of light commercial and mixed residential zone land. If approved, the petitioner plans to sell the land to Thomas Morris, who plans to construct approximately 55 storage units in phases. Mr. Morris plans to reside in the home that's currently on the property and utilize the existing storage building as part of the proposed business. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, and that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add?
Yes.
Okay, come on up, state your name and address.
My name is Thomas Morris. I'm the applicant there. I live at 1900 Mohawk Drive in Moss Bluff. We're lifelong residents of Louisiana, 35-year residents of Lake area, and 24 years in the Moss Bluff area. And I just wanted to say that we are doing this so that we'll have retirement income, as I've been injured and can no longer work, and my wife will be retiring from the school board next year. We will live on the property. It'll be one half of the property actually being used, and the rest of the area will be green space, which we plan to use for basically fruit orchard and pecan trees. We don't plan to do any other development on the property other than this, just to have retirement income. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Have any blue cards? Okay. Any questions for Mr. Morris? Okay. Have a seat. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Board?
Is this one of the roads that where we had our ordinance put into place in the Moss Bluff area as far as the appearances and whatnot?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And the site plan, well, he actually provided a building exterior.
Okay, that is
And he's
the-
willing to comply with all of
Okay.
the requirements.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item passes. Case number, item 12. Take appropriate action on case EX 04-006-16, a request by William B. Lawton Family Limited Partnership to amend stipulations on case EX 04-011-14 to allow a borrow pit, 75 acres in the 7500 block of Highway 27 South in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Mr. Navarro has,
Second.
and Mr. Little has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Carlos and encompasses 120 acres of agricultural zone land. In 2014, you approved a 75-acre borrow pit at this location and imposed a stipulation that the hauling be conducted from daylight to dusk only. Since that approval was granted, the hauler, 5S Industrial, has contracted to provide fill material to the Cameron LNG construction site. In order to mitigate some of the truck traffic on Highway 27, the LNG contractor has asked the hauler to bring fill at night. DOTD has approved this request to haul around the clock with the exception of peak drive times. And to proceed with night hauls, the board must remove the reference stipulation. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122-1F4 II through XII of the Parish Code of Ordinances, that permitting is subject to DOTD approval, and that permitting is subject to Gravity Drainage District Number 5 of Ward 4 approval.
Okay, thank you. Just a question, okay, when you say your stipulation number 2, permitting subject to DOTD approval, I thought you had a letter for approval, or is that different?
We have an email from them, but we're just going to put it in with the permit
Okay,
to have all the documentation in line.
okay. Does the applicant have anything to add? We do have a card from Trey Klein. Hope I'm pronouncing that. Okay, you can come on up. You good? Okay. Does the board have any questions?
I have a comment to
Go ahead.
make on this particular site. Happened to be in that area looking at some other work, went past it. Not sure who the contractor is, but I think we could use this particular site as a good example of what hauling dirt onto the public roads is about. You can go down there and there's no dirt on them roads. They've got rock and stuff back, they got concrete against the road, so they're doing what can be done to eliminate mud and dirt on highways. I mean, it's clean, it's as clean as any highway in Lake Charles. So they are doing a good job of maintaining that area down there.
Great, thank you. All righty. Any other comments, on the board?
Yeah, I've got one.
Go ahead, Mr. Kirk.
And I'm familiar with this piece of property, and I've been there before, and it's sort of in a curve, and that's why I was curious when y'all mentioned DOTD had an issue, or had to give the final okay, because it is kind of a blind spot coming out. And is the exit, I'm assuming, going to be on the north end of that property onto the highway?
I believe, I'd have to pull up the site plan, but I believe they moved it to the south side.
Okay, get you out of the curve.
There it is, right there on the screen. You can see all the way on the south.
Okay, I got it.
Almost across from that, the store on that end.
Right.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments? All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item passes. Item number 13, take appropriate action on case EX 04-007-16, a request by J.S. Broussard Farms LLC for an exception to allow 3 borrow pits, plus or minus 60 acres total, in a 3500 block of L.S. Moss Road in Ward 4. Entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
Second.
Coach has moved, Mr. Navarro has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Carlos area and encompasses 90 acres of agricultural zone land. Upon completion of the excavation, the pits will be stocked and used for personal use. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122-1F4 I through XII of the Parish Code, and that permitting is subject to the findings of a police jury-funded geotechnical pavement investigation, which may result in the need for a road damage bond.
Okay, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? Mr. Klein, I have another card for you. You want to come speak on this one? You good? All right, thank you. Any questions or comments by the board? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item passes. Item number 14, take appropriate action on case RZ 07-008-16, a request by AMAC LLC to amend ordinance number 6468, which was RZ 07-038-14, stipulation number 1, that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development to allow a revised site plan at 2468 Toomey Road in Ward 7. I will entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb has moved, second. Mr. Navarro has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Toomey area and encompasses nearly 6 acres. In 2014, the board and the police jury rezoned the property to allow a 39-space RV park. The petitioner is now requesting that the site plan be revised to allow 6 additional spaces, which would be a total of 45 spaces. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulation: that the development adhere to the amended site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? We don't have any blue cards on this one. Any questions or comments by the board? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Item number 15, take appropriate action on case EX 07-008-16, a request by AMAC LLC for an exception to allow a revised site plan EX 07-022-15 at 2468 Toomey Road in Ward 7. Entertain a motion to approve with stipulations. Coach Williams has seconded. Coach Williams has moved, and Mr. Porsche has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is adjacent to the land that was considered in the previous request. The land included in this request is just over 8 acres of light industrial zone property. Last year, the board approved a zoning exception to allow 5 cabins at this site. The petitioner would like to add 16 cabins for a total of 21. To do so, the board must approve the revised site plan. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans.
All right, thank you. No blue cards on this one either. Any questions or comments by the board? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item passes. Item number 16, take appropriate action on case RZ 08-009-16, a request by Roger Miller to rezone from A1 agriculture to RMHP manufactured home park to allow a manufactured home park of 6 spaces at 607 I-10 Mobile Village Road in Ward 8. I will now entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Art Little has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Clo area and encompasses 3.5 acres. The petitioners would like to locate 3 manufactured homes on this property with a potential future expansion to 6 units total. Because the proposed development is consistent with the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of engineering or technical considerations.
All right, thank you. No blue cards on this one. All righty. Any questions or comments by the board? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Item number 17, take appropriate action on RZ 08-010-16, a request by Robert Miller to rezone from A1 agriculture to RMHP manufactured home park to allow a manufactured home park 2 spaces at 623 and 629 I-10 Mobile Village Road in Ward 8. I will now entertain a motion to approve with stipulation.
So moved.
Mr. Little has moved. Have a second. Coach Williams has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is adjacent to the land considered in the previous request. This site encompasses 1.5 acres. There are already 2 manufactured homes on this property, and the rezoning would keep the RMHP zoning classification consistent. Because the proposed use is consistent with the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? Okay, any blue cards? Being none. Okay, questions or comments by the board? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Item number 18, take appropriate action on case RZ 03-006-16, a request by Electrical Contracting Services LLC to rezone from C1 light commercial to I1 light industrial to allow light industrial development, a contractor shop, at 5455 Broad Street in Ward 3. I would entertain a motion to approve stipulation.
So moved.
Coach Williams has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Porsche has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in East Lake Charles and encompasses a half acre. In 2002, the existing building was permitted to be a grocery store. The building was never finished, and the petitioner recently purchased the land and obtained a permit to complete the building. He would like to locate his electrical contracting business here, but that use requires light industrial zoning. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations.
Okay, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? No blue cards? All righty. Any questions or comments by the board? Being none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Item number 19, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-007-16, a request by Roger Lopez to rezone from A1 agriculture to RVP, recreational vehicle park, to allow a recreational vehicle park, 4 spaces, and a manufactured home at 994 Trina Lane in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion to approve stipulation.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb has motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Porsche has second. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located just northeast of the city of Sulphur and encompasses nearly 1 acre. In 2009, the previous owner received approval to place 2 RVs on the property. This approval was likely granted as part of disaster recovery efforts following Hurricane Ike. In 2013, the previous owner received a permit for 1 RV for climate control purposes only. The permit specifically stated that the unit was not to be used as a residence. Our office recently received a zoning complaint and found upon inspection that there are 4 RVs on the property, all of which are being used for rental purposes, and the petitioners who purchased the property last summer reside in the manufactured home that is also on the lot. The staff can find no evidence of hardship involved, therefore the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, and that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances.
Okay. Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? Okay, you have any blue cards on this? Okay. Any questions or comments by
Is the applicant here?
Is the applicant here? Okay. You want to speak with him? Could you please come up and state your name and address and answer some questions, please?
Dora Lopez, and we live at 994 Trina Lane, South Louisiana.
Roger Lopez, 994 Trina Lane.
Okay, Ms. Navarre?
When you bought this property, they told you that it was already approved for what you was wanting to do for it?
Well, yeah, because I bought it from my mother. And from what I bought was an acre. But when Mr. Glenn James, the lawyer, wrote it up, he wrote it up wrong. So we had it surveyed and
I hate to cut you off. Did you say you bought it for your mother or from your mother?
from my mother.
Okay,
See, she has 3 acres and we bought the back acre.
okay.
But Mr. Glenn James wrote up the
Property deed.
the property deed wrong. So we're right now waiting. He's supposed to be getting back with us tomorrow with the right description of the property. But 2 of the RV parks were already there, and then there was another mobile home and another RV, but they moved out. So we just put 2 RVs where they were at. Is all. I mean, we're just wanting 4 RVs, that's it.
I went out there, and it looks good to me. We've just let somebody, not, 100 yards, they're gonna put in these portable containers. And they want, what, 6 spots is what you want? Huh?
Four. We just want
I don't see a problem with this, not at all. Only problem I see that it was done, and they didn't realize it whenever when they changed hands from her mama.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Porsche?
What was the error in the write-up of the deed?
Property acreage is less than an acre, and we bought an
wrote it
acre
up-
from her.
He
And
wrote it up as an acre?
We're 2/10 shy as of this layout here,
Okay.
Right.
So we had an error, overage of 2/10 of an acre.
under.
Under. So Glenn James is having to rewrite our deed because he messed it up.
Okay.
And we found this out this afternoon about 10 to 5. American Surveyor is the one that done the survey.
Okay.
And
So they got back with him and they said he would be getting back with them, so we should have that by tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any other questions about the board?
I got one question
Yes, sir, Coach.
for Mr. Staff, Ms. Wiley. They say they moved out 2, and they moved 2 back in. According to our ordinance, were they supposed to come to us to replace those 2?
Yes.
But this was not done.
Not that we're aware of, no. The only permits that we had were the 2 that I spoke of earlier.
I don't think they knew. They bought it from her mom. I wouldn't have known.
A lot of people that come before you don't know,
Yeah.
I know.
you know.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Christie, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
No.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
7 for and 1 against.
All right, item passes. Item number 20. Okay. Take appropriate action on case VA 04-011-16, a request by Roger Lopez for a variance to allow a recreational vehicle park with less than minimum lot size, required 43,560 square feet, requesting 35,208 square feet at 994 Trina Lane in Ward 4. Need a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Dickerson? Ms. Dickerson and Mr. Little has seconded. Ms. Wallace?
This is the same property that was considered in the previous request. Parish code requires that an RV park in the urban service area be a minimum of 1 acre in size. And because this lot is less than 1 acre, a variance is needed to allow the park. Again, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should you grant the request, the staff recommends that the development adhere to the site plan on file and that the use must be screened in accordance with section 26-50 of the code.
Okay. Applicants, you want to add anything?
They just said that
I know, I just,
Attorney, yeah.
I'm just following my list, man. Okay. We don't have any blue cards. Any questions or comments by the board?
I got one, Elijah.
Sir.
And it's really for the applicants, it's, an acre is 208 by 28, 208.7 by 208.7, but I see you have 168.7. Is what you mentioned earlier that the error was in the acreage. Is it actually in the dimensions? Should it be
Yes, sir.
an acre square?
Right, yes, sir. That's what we bought, was acre square, and Mr. James, Mr.
Glenn James.
Glenn James wrote it up wrong, so they surveyed it, and it threw it off. So they're in the process of redrawing it up as of today.
And then he's gonna make the corrections on our survey.
So you will have an acre?
Yes, that's what we're told.
That's what we
That's
told.
what we bought.
That's what we bought, was the acre.
I usually say plus or minus.
Yes.
Yeah. But she only had 3 acres, so she's trying to sell 2 acres, and we got the other acre.
And so will that then allow them with the correct lot size? Or no? Still,
have, but we don't have that.
Right.
okay.
Their deed says that they purchased 208.7 by 168.7.
Okay.
He wrote
There's
it
not
up
very many square feet that is short.
No.
2/10 shy of an acre.
Okay, Mr. Porsche?
And to follow up on his question, if it is amended and corrected, if we deny this, then if they bring proof showing, hey, it's an acre, then they can do the 4 spaces and the manufactured home as of right, without the variance?
No, I've been known to overcomplicate things. But when the police jury rezones property, the legal description is on the actual ordinance. And as it stands right now, the legal description will say 208.7 by 168.7. So even if they bring us a new legal description, I think, I might be wrong, but it would be a technicality, but I think it might need to come back before you with the new legal description.
Probably would.
I understand. Okay.
See, as our survey right now says, there's an occupational line behind us. That gives us an additional 25.9 because it's been there over 100 years, they say. So,
Okay.
that was in this survey.
All right. Ms. Porsche?
So they could put,
So it would make us have more than what they're even saying. It would be 25.9 feet more.
so they could put 3 spaces for now.
No, the minimum lot size for an RV park is 1 acre, regardless of the number
got
of
you.
spaces.
Okay.
So, I mean,
It's not a square footage on the,
I'm kind of thinking to myself, if you granted the
Total.
rezoning, I'm not sure what your basis would be to deny the variance.
Yeah.
right.
Kind of like a moot point.
What about the 2 lots that were already okayed?
The 2 spaces?
There was 2 spaces and a double wide and a mobile home already there that
What-
they rezoned and they zoned it okay.
No, it wasn't rezoned, there was just a permit that was issued. But when permits are issued for RVs, individual RVs, it's only for 6 months. So that permit expired and is no longer valid. I don't have the date in front of me, but it seems like it was years ago that it expired, 2009.
I
think.
remember them having a zoning here and I just don't.
No, we don't have any record of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Lopez. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Cobb?
Okay, Mr. Gar, if they made a legal description correction, could they then say they,
If they're purchasing an acre, it may be a different issue, but as Ms. Wallace just stated, we have to go by legal description at this
Yeah,
point.
but
And what
can
we have
they-
in front of us now is less than an acre.
can they go in and make a legal description correction?
I think at that point, we'd have to start the process over.
You had to come back to us.
I-
Ms. Navarro?
I have a question, how many, okay, say on an acre, you said it's gotta be an acre. How many RVs can they put on an acre?
You have to have 2,000 square feet per.
So how many's out of an acre?
1,000 square feet.
Huh?
It's 40
6 would be because these RVs are not close. I went out there Sunday morning. Mr. Lopez had just left. I talked to one of the guys that was living there. And it looks really nice. And I've seen the time that this same group, people come in and want to make a subdivision and cut the size of the lots. And we pass it. And we talking 2/10 of an acre. That I have a problem with.
All right. Any other questions, comments by the board? Okay, Mr. Christie, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yeah.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
No.
Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Navarre,
Yes.
7 for and 1 against.
Item passes. Item number 21. Take appropriate action on a request by Oak Creek Village for preliminary subdivision approval to allow a single-family residential subdivision in a 3600 block of South Douglas Parkway in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb moved.
Navarre.
Ms. Navarre seconded. Ms. Wallace.
Before I get started, I want to point out that this might get complicated because there's multiple requests that deal with this one development, but all I'm talking about right now is the subdivision. So the property is located south of Sulphur and encompasses 36 acres. The developer would like to subdivide the land into 120 lots, with the smallest lot being 5,500 square feet and the largest being 7,500 square feet. Because many of the lots do not meet the minimum standards, which is 7,500 square feet, the owner is also requesting a variance to be considered in the next agenda item. For the subdivision, because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development is subject to an application for and/or compliance with an LPDES stormwater discharge permit, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required in accordance with the parish codes, and that the preliminary plat must be approved by the Division of Engineering prior to submittal of engineering plans.
All right. Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? Okay. Going up, state your name and address, please.
Chairman, members of the board, Scott Lenz, 3205 West Ray Road, Chandler, Arizona. I'm here representing both the owner of the land and the applicant developer. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments by the board?
I have a question for I guess more so for the staff. Looking at the information that is given to us, does this meet the requirement? And I'm assuming we're talking about the south subdivision at this point in time? 1A?
If you look at the aerial photography, it's kind of the western portion. I'm not sure if you're looking at maybe the site plan,
Okay.
but
And that, the yellow brings the property out to Douglas Parkway? And does that footage meet the requirements of minimum access from a public road?
the requirements,
Exit?
Oh,
the requirements that it does not meet is the square footage of the lots, the road frontage of the lots, not of the overall subdivision, and also the front setback is what they're requesting a variance on. I'm looking for the site plan, but Carlos Drive, I know that you know this, I'm not sure if the board members know this, Carlos Drive is being extended from Highway 27 all the way through to Douglas Parkway. So rather than the subdivision being off of Douglas Parkway, once it's constructed, it will more be off of Carlos Drive. I'm not sure if that answers your question or not.
Well, at this point in time, I don't think it answers a question, but I don't know if it's currently the property, the only access is from Douglas Parkway?
That is correct.
They're going to have a temporary drive that comes through the development off of Douglas Parkway. It's going to be temporary until at a later date, when Carlos Drive is constructed, then the main access points will be off of Carlos Drive.
Is it
You
going to
have a site
attach
plan?
to Inwood at all? Is it going to attach to that subdivision?
No.
No.
So no, I'm just thinking that Corliss Drive will be, this subdivision will probably be in place before Corliss Drive is ever built.
I don't know. I believe that Carlos Drive is one of our high priority projects.
And I'm just,
I see the
trying to-
developer is,
Yeah, I could address that. We've been coordinating with Louisiana DOT almost weekly since we started the application, and first started communicating with also the engineering public works of the parish, and we're trying to coordinate this so that it comes together, hopefully around the same time. As you'll note, the Bella Savon plan that is a half-mile, quarter-mile west of this site, the Carlos Drive is already constructed for a half-mile through there. And so we're trying to coordinate the plans. We're coordinating traffic studies with the DOT, the parish. We're coordinating drainage master plans, and as a temporary measure, you can see on the site there's a box. There's a couple acres that is by Big West Parkway that's not owned by the applicant, and so the DOT, and they're currently trying to get the right of way in order to finish the design of that plan. As a temporary access just south of there, we would be putting in a temporary drive, and we'd be limited to only the south 50 lots until the drive goes through.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we don't have any blue cards on this one here. So, thank you. You can have a seat, sir. So you can have a seat. You good. Any other questions, comments by the board? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item passes. Item number 22. Take appropriate action on case VA 04-007-16, a request by Inwood Forest LLC for a variance to decrease the lot size requirement. Required 7,500 square feet, requesting 5,500 square feet. To decrease the public road frontage requirement. Required 60 feet, requesting 50 feet. And to decrease the front setback requirement, required 30 feet, requesting 20 feet, in the 3600 block of South Douglas Parkway in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb and Mr. Navarre has seconded. Ms. Wallace?
under this request, the petitioner is asking for the previously mentioned variance on the lot sizes, just for that subdivision component on that site plan. As the chair stated in the agenda item, there's 3 variances that are being requested. And I'm sure over the last couple of years, you've probably noticed, as we have, that the trend for these community sewer and public water type developments is to go even smaller than our minimum requirements as far as square footage and road frontage. And we have had a number of requests for that front yard setback variance on the front yard setback requirement. And we, as a staff, do feel that this development fits in with the character of the area. There are some other high-density developments in the area, so we recommend that all the variances be granted.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, you have anything to add on this one? Okay. Go ahead, Mr.
I've got a question just for clarity. This is preliminary approval. This will come back up. This is, as far as our board is concerned, this is it for,
Well, the preliminary approval was what y'all approved on the last
Right,
item, so that's
correct.
done.
okay.
That doesn't go back to a public meeting until final acceptance of the public improvements of the
Okay.
subdivision.
Uh,
So this is just a variance
variance
on those
against
3
that.
items for the single-family housing component of the overall development.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have one blue card. Mr. Ronnie Tucker. Please come up, state your name and address and the nature of your concern.
Ronnie Tucker, 816 Pine Tree Lane. Live in the subdivision south of this proposed subdivision. There are a couple of things that aren't real clear to me. They say they're in a parish water district. They say they're in the city of Sulphur sewer. They're not in Sulphur that I know of, and I'm not sure which water district they're in. I know I spent quite a bit of time developing and working with Sewer District 12, which is the Sunnywood subdivision to the south of there. We financed our own sewer lines and, had them put in. So this isn't part of Sulphur as of yet that I know. Has that changed?
Staff, would you want to address that, Mr. Crane?
Earlier,
Or Ms. Wallace?
I'm sorry, November of 2014, the city of Sulphur took formal action to approve connecting the development into the city of Sulphur sewer. And we also have a letter from January of 2016 from Carlos Water stating that they were going to furnish the subdivision with potable water.
Okay, thank you.
So these people all pay the $35 a month to Sulphur? It's twice what the citizens of Sulphur, I've been paying it for years.
It's $50 a month for Sulphur. Of course, that's water and sewer, yeah.
But that was separated, this one.
The sewer alone, Sewer District 12 had the city of Sulphur collect the fee. They charged twice what the residents of Sulphur pay. So each one of these people, and I don't know how they'd work it with the apartment complex, but they would all have to pay the $35 a month until they get annexed or make some other arrangements.
And that's really not our concern. Our concern is on land use, and so, I mean, the water rates and all of that, and sewer rates, that's...
As far as it fitting in with the character of the neighborhood, yes, there's multifamily developments to the north and on the east side of the road. If you look at their aerial photo, you'll see that the developments on the west side, both to the north and south, are single family. Their colored plot plan shows there. If you can look to the north and south, you'll see that those are all single family, fairly large lots. I think our neighborhood is minimum 90 front feet. So it seems like there's a whole lot of people moving into one little tiny place. The number of vehicles that would have to come in and out of there is, if you just call it one per apartment and one per house, that's 320 a day. And Douglas is a nightmare as it is. So I would encourage you to consider that, it may be creating a hazard. Does anyone know where Carlos Drive is coming through? Is it to the south, the north?
Right in the middle, correct? That's all?
If you put that colored map up, you can see it.
Yeah. See it coming through. There you go. Yeah, where the road is. See where the road on the bottom half?
Yeah, there's a wide right-of-way that goes right through there. It's sort of a dashed, heavy dashed line.
Right.
That's the Carlos Drive.
The west side?
Extension.
Coming in the west side.
Coming in from the west, going to the east.
North.
Okay.
You can see it better on that colored map.
Sorry.
Let me show him.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Tucker? Ms. Tucker, do you have any other questions?
No, sir, that's, I'd just like you to consider the density.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Ms. Porsche.
Just a few comments on as Ms. Wallace said, the trend that we're seeing with the lot size. In talking with developers, some of the challenges with the storm drainage. If you look here, there's retention ponds and things that are being required, even additional community green space that they're adding. So a lot of people do more in their backyards now, their front yards. Used to be everybody hung out in the front yard, so the decreased setbacks. It's a trend that I think I don't really have much concern about the density because they're having the retention drainage issues. So you're seeing larger retention ponds and increased green space as far as community green space in some of these developments. So I just think it's a trend that we're gonna start seeing more and more, and infrastructure costs for developers. I mean, it's they're trying to maximize their space and the land that they have. So just one general comments on that. It's something we're seeing more and more of, and I know from my parents' point of view as well, less yard to keep up, and it's viewed as a positive now amongst most homeowners or buyers. Just a little different concept to get used to. Ms. Wallace?
You make a good point, and I apologize because in other cases, like the Belle Savon that was mentioned earlier, we did come to you with an overall density, and while you were talking, I did some quick math. And it's 36 acres, and if I divide that by 120 lots, it works out to over 13,000 square feet per lot.
Right.
And some of that gets divided up into the ponds and the green space.
I was just about to say that.
The
No.
smaller lot. So I
The
appreciate
math
your
works,
pointing
though.
that-
But I was noticing here, you're looking at the lot size. It is smaller, but the overall density for that acreage, it's very.
And I do think, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
You almost have to look at the overall plan that they submitted here, and you look at it really helps with their color rendering to depict where those open spaces are, because that is sort of the trend is, and as a matter of fact, we're looking in our drainage study of doing or encouraging low impact development.
Right.
This is sort of what that is.
That's
This is
right.
low. They're densening it up. They're having a smaller footprint, but they're also allowing for more open space to allow the rainfall
Correct.
to hit on the ground and collect, or either absorb into the ground itself, which is going to help us overall for drainage.
Right. I agree. It's a great looking development.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments by the board? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item passes. Case number 23. Take appropriate action on case RZ 04-005-16, a request by Inwood Forest LLC to rezone from R1 single-family residential to RM multifamily residential to allow multifamily residential development in the 3600 block of South Beggars Parkway in Ward 4. I entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb, Mr. Porsche has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is adjacent to the land that was considered in the previous two requests. In this application, the petitioner is asking for just over 14 acres of land to be rezoned to allow a 200-unit multifamily development. Should the rezoning be approved by the police jury, the development will need a zoning variance on the number of units. That request is next on the agenda. But for this rezoning request, because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments; that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code; and that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required.
All right, thank you. We have one blue card from Ms. Sherry Nichols. Well, please state your name and your address, please. Make sure you're concerned.
Yes, sir. I'm Sheree Nichols. My address is 474 Inez Code, DeRidder, Louisiana. The reason I'm here today, we actually, my family, my brothers, my uncle, and myself own the land that's between the two properties y'all been talking about for the last few minutes. I'm new to this, so I didn't understand. When I saw the orange sign, it said Inwood Forest. I didn't see Oak Creek Forest, or I would have spoke on item 21, which is too late now. But we're just curious. All these models show a road coming through our property. And as far as I know, and my brothers know, and my uncle knows, none of us have even been contacted. And maybe it's too early, but none of us have been contacted as our Eccles family on this situation. So we were just kind of curious about this. We're not against subdivisions by no means, but when you're talking about multifamily apartments, we're just kind of curious of what type of apartments are you talking about, and what impact is that going to make on our acreage of land when we're already, according to the map, going to lose some property for the road. I know it is consistent with the neighborhood. Further down the road, there's some multi-apartments. But closer to this property, they're single-family homes with a great value to their homes. So, like I said, I'm new to it, but my curiosity is, what impact is this going to make of the value of our property and the other homeowners in the area? And then kind of curious about the road that's showing going through our property.
Okay, now where's your property again?
When you pull up the map, go back.
Right there.
Wait, go back to the one you just left. One more.
Or the next one? That
See that black square?
The one on the
Right side?
southeast?
Yes.
Adjoining Beglis?
It's green.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I can't. Okay, green. Yes, ma'am. It joins the blue.
So you're the family that they're looking to talk with for the right-of-way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, in whoever's defense, my father passed away and my grandfather passed away. I have an uncle that's sick with cancer, and we're kind of new to this, my brothers and I. So, yes, we're more than glad to talk to someone about it, but we're just curious. We've seen maps and we've seen a road come through our property that we don't even know anything about.
Okay. All right. Staff, you want to add anything to that, or just allow the applicant to come up?
I'm a little surprised because my guess is that our engineering department has reached out. I'm not sure if they've done a succession yet, and maybe we don't have the correct contact information, but it's my understanding that we have moved forward to obtain that right away. So I can certainly check with our engineering department, but I'm not real sure what bearing that issue has on, you know, the discussion at hand. I'd be happy to look into it, but I believe that we're far enough along in the process that they should have been notified of our intent to purchase that right away.
Okay, well, probably I would suggest after the meeting, you get with the staff and, you know, exchange information to make sure they communicate even them right now after possibly.
And it could be, as I said, my uncle usually handled it. He has cancer. He hasn't been handling things. But my brothers and I were part of the succession over a year ago when we inherited my dad's part. And I would think that all parties involved would be notified. And my brothers and I know for a fact have not. I can't speak on my uncle's behalf because he's really ill right now, but on our behalf. So, and it doesn't have any bearing on probably what you're talking about. We're
Sure.
just curious, number one. And number two, our little bitty land, we were just curious on a multifamily, the impact that would have on the value of our property as well as the other homeowners in the area.
You might get paid pretty well, who knows?
Two corner lots.
Yeah, I would suggest you talk with the staff and kind of move forward with that. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you
Evans.
very much.
Have a great day. All righty. Any other questions, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, in that same regards, I know Inwood subdivision is a high-end subdivision. This is going to back up against some of these homes that's currently built in the last 6 months, 9 months of residents. Currently, that drainage ditch has landscape of old trees and brush and I see it's going to be a multi-level homes or multi-level buildings that's going to throw, looking right straight into the other neighbors and whatnot. Is this going to have, you know, what kind of impact is this going to show on those homes? And it is a high-end subdivision to the north of it. That all this is going to be, that's what they're going to be looking at every morning once that canal comes through there and gets cleaned and all these trees are gone. I know 2 or 3 of the residents, they call their back patios overlooking the waterfront. And whenever these waterfront turns into multi-family housing, 2-story buildings, I mean, it's just what is that going to do to them in regards to what they have currently?
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions or comments by the board? Are you applicant or
Part of the
you part of, come on up.
Thank you. I'm Ed Nelson, the owner of the 54 acres. I developed Inwood Forest that you're speaking of, and we're leaving a buffer of trees, about a 50-foot.
I'm sorry, can you give your address as well, please?
I'm sorry, 3709 Holly Hill Road, Lake Charles. We're leaving a 50-foot buffer of trees between the multifamily, Bayou Den, and Inwood Forest. So there will be no direct sight into the units, and the height of the trees will eliminate any problem as far as a visual. So there is a barrier there. And the distance from the back of the homes into the multifamily is about 350 feet, over 100 yards.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments by the board? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Item number, where were we? 24. Item number 24. Take appropriate action on case VA 04-006-16, a request by Inwood Forest LLC for a variance to increase the maximum density requirements, allowed 100 units requesting 200 units in the 3600 block of South Douglas Parkway in Ward 4. Entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb has moved.
Second.
Mr. Porsche has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
As previously stated, the petitioner is requesting a variance to allow 200 units instead of the 100 units that's allowed by right in that zoning. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, and that a DIA and a TIA may be required.
All right, thank you. Applicant, you want to add anything to this one? Okay. We have one blue card, Mr. Ronnie Tucker. Again, you good? All righty. Any other questions or comments by the board? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item passes. Thank you. Item number 25. Take appropriate action on case EX 07-005-16, a request by Vinton Harbor and Terminal District for an exception to allow residential development, temporary workforce housing facility, in the 2400 block of Johnny Bro Road in Ward 7. I entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Navarre has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Vinton and encompasses 42 acres of heavy industrial zone land. If the exception is approved, the petitioner will lease the land to Alvin Brass. Mr. Brass's company, Mossville Camp LLC, in conjunction with Lone Tree USA, will construct a housing facility with 14 dormitory-type structures. The facility will also have kitchen, dining, and recreation spaces. At full capacity, the facility will house 2,520 workers. The proposed development will provide a consolidated location for workforce housing that will minimize the impacts of the construction phase of industrial expansion in the area. This housing facility will increase efficiency of vehicle traffic. This type of housing is a sustainable solution for the parish because it will prevent overbuilding of more permanent housing structures. Because the development will be temporary, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that a drainage impact analysis and traffic impact analysis must be submitted and approved by the Division of Planning and the Division of Engineering prior to permit issuance, that the exception is for the Vinton Port and Alvin Brass, also known as Mossville Camp LLC, and is non-transferable, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that the Division of Planning and Development be provided with contract abstracts with customers within 30 days of execution, that the pods must be removed within 6 months of Alvin Brass's contract end date with his customer, and 7, that the development is subject to a development agreement between Alvin Brass and the police jury outlining the conditions of approval for the exception as well as any mitigation measures identified by the TIA and DIA.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Okay. Have one card, Mr. Merchant. Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Jerry Merchant. I live at 1803 Penny Drive in Benton. I'm president of the Benton Harbor and Terminal Board, and I'm here representing that board tonight. This exception and ultimately, if we build this, is going to be a tremendous impact on the Benton Harbor and Terminal District. Revenues coming in for us to be able to dredge the Benton Drain Ditch, which is the main feeder to our port, and allow some barge traffic that we're not able to utilize at this time. And at this time, if you have any particular questions about the port or about this particular project, I would be glad to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Merchant?
Mr. Merchant, I know this has been under consideration for a while, that y'all have met several times with the residents in Benton and the surrounding area. Evidently, y'all have done a good job because I don't see any opposition here. Have you had a good turnout at your meetings with the residents, and what is their consensus on this?
Well, the turnout at both city council meetings where we've had some issues that we were working on that touched on some of this, and our port board meetings has been relatively light. I'm not saying there wasn't opposition there. There was opposition there, but there was also people for it. So, and when I say light, about 6 to 7 people per meeting.
Okay. Any other additional questions for Mr. Merchant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by the board?
We probably need a roll call vote because I'm a vote.
Okay. No other questions? Ms. Christie, you want to do a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Navarre,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
Mr. Little,
No.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
7 for and 1 against.
All right, item passes. Case number 26. Take appropriate action on case ST 04-001-16, a request by Calcasieu Parish Division of Planning and Development to rezone certain tracts of land from C2, general commercial, and I1, light industrial, to R2, mixed residential, to maintain the residential character of the area in the 2200 block of Carolyn Street and the 2100 block and the 2200 block of Galen Drive in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Coach Williams moves.
Seconder Little.
Mr. Little seconded. Ms. Wallace.
In January of this year, the police jury authorized the staff to conduct a reclassification study on this area in order to maintain the current character of the neighborhood. The study area consists of approximately 6 acres that's divided into 15 lots with 8 property owners. With the exception of a billboard on the east end of Carolyn Street, the developed land is used residentially with 6 manufactured homes and 1 house. In order for the billboard location to retain conforming status, the staff recommends that lots 16 and 17, Block 2 of Birchwood subdivision, the easternmost lots, remain Zone C2 General Commercial. Furthermore, the staff recommends that all other tracts within the study area be rezoned to R2 Mixed Residential.
All right. Thank you. Does the applicant, or y'all the applicant?
Any questions?
Yeah, y'all have any questions?
Like to add.
We have a couple of blue cards. Robert Shea. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You can come on up. Yeah. Please state your name and your address and nature of your concern.
I'm Robert Shea of 2127 Galen Drive. I own that corner, 425 foot approximately, going east from Post Oak Road. And I'm looking at the commercial that's coming across the street. So I'm looking at developing or maybe building a small building for a fab shop on that corner. Also, I'd like, on my house, I'm figuring on either I or my children will. The house, the layout of the house, I had an appraiser come look at it, and he said that it could be possibly made into office space when I move. It's done, I'm living by myself in that house. It's a great big old house, and I'm about ready to get rid of it or sell it, or either develop it into something smaller. I'll move into something smaller. I live alone, and I would request that it not be changed. It not be changed from what it is now back to a mixed.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Residential.
I thought you said you own the corner lot of,
Ma'am?
you own the corner lot at Post Oak, and
Ma'am, I'm
Alien?
sorry. I'm so hard of hearing.
you own the corner lot at
Yes,
Post Oak?
ma'am. I own a
thought-
corner lot.
I thought that was going to stay commercial, and the rest was going to mixed use, mixed residential.
No, our proposal is, if you look at the map on the screen, the northernmost tract that abuts the interstate, all the way on the east side is where the billboard is.
Okay.
That's that commercial.
I think his property is right there at the intersection of Patton, is it Patton, Post Oak, and
Yes, it's on it's the north corner, Post Oak and Galen Drive.
And he owns, on the aerial photography, if you're looking on your screen, it's 2 tracks. There's
Okay.
a line, and it looks like the corner is vacant, and then the big house with the circular
Right,
driveway.
that's my house. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So it's a large tract of land.
So Galen turns into Patton Street at Post Oak.
Right, Patton
Okay.
is west. Comes Patton Street and then turn into Galen Drive at Post Oak.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Shea? Thank you, sir. Ms. Darlene Broussard? Please state your name and address for us, please, and nature of your concern.
My name is Darlene Broussard, and this is my daughter Deborah Hand. We have parks. I have right at 2 acres of land next to Robert Shea. Been there 30 years. And I've kept my land for the simple reason I have Darlene's Hair Salon for elderly, handicapped, and disabled.
I'm sorry, Ms. Broussard, can you give us
Can you
your
hear
address,
me?
please? Yes, we can hear you, but give us your address.
Okay. Oh, it's, actually, it was 2133 Galen Drive. Her address is 2145.
Thank you.
In other words, I gave her one of my lots off of my 2 acres, okay? We're hairdressers, okay? My daughter's a hairdresser. I am too. She has Hair One. I have Darlene's Hair Salon for elderly, handicapped, disabled. I'm hooked to the Landmark and Stonebridge. I'm the hairdresser for 15 years. Anyway, I might have to put a little office there on my land because I don't have an office. I'm a contractor. And so that's why I've kept my land, you know, for business reasons. That's exactly it. And then the thing is I have a grandson that just had hip replacements, and he's only 29 years old, and he lives on the property on my daughter's land right there. That would be the other lot that's hooked to ours. So we've got right 2 acres next to Robert Shea, and we definitely don't want to rezone. We'll leave it just as it is. Don't want to rezone.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Any questions for Ms. Broussard? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Staff, would you all like to address those concerns?
Mr. Shea's concerns were more general in nature, and obviously, if the property's rezoned, it would, change what he can do with the property. It sounds like Ms. Broussard, I think was her last name, it sounds like in her situation that if the property is rezoned to residential, if that's all she's going to do is an office for her hair business, that would actually be allowed as a home occupation. She could even put a little shop in the back with one chair, and operate that way. Excuse
So
me.
she would be fine. Is that a variance or anything, or that's about
No,
right?
no.
Do it as a home occupation.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be allowed.
Okay. All right. Any questions or concerns about any of that?
But Ms. Broussard, does she just have one chair now, or does she have a?
Sounds like she goes somewhere, she goes to the nursing homes. Yeah, offsite.
Oh,
What I
okay.
understood. Are you offside?
Yes.
Yeah. She goes to the nursing homes.
Right.
Ms. Broussard, you can come back up.
I believe she goes to Stonebridge and Landmark.
Yes.
Maybe I'll explain my business a little better. I'm the only one locally around here that has a business like this. And what it is I work in the funeral homes, I work in the hospitals, I'm everywhere. I'm working for the Landmark for rehab. I'm the hairdresser there. Then I'm at Stonebridge, and I'm the hairdresser there. I'm a contractor. I actually work out of my car. But I would like to have my office. It would be really nice because I'm everywhere,
Now, when you
So that's why I kept my land.
Go ahead. Well, when you say office, you mean just a chair or a
No,
desk?
I have complete hair salons that the company put in just for me. I have a hair salon in both of those businesses.
Yes, but I'm talking about in your home in the future, on Galen Drive, you want one chair, you say you want to put your office there.
Yeah,
What's
I
your
might put a
office?
hair salon and then put an office in there. Also, my daughter Deborah, she's a hairdresser, and she's got her hair salon at home. And her daughter is a hairdresser, my granddaughter. And she was planning on putting a hair salon too on her land, on her lot.
These are three different
We're all
lots.
hairdressers,
Okay,
huh?
3 different lots, correct?
No, it would be 2 acres. Right at 2 acres, what I got.
That's all together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ms. Crane?
Well, what I was going to explain is under a home occupation, you can use a certain percentage of the inside of your residence
Mm-hmm.
for an office or a studio, or if you have a hair salon, you can have one chair with an employee. So, Ms. Broussard, you need to understand, that's
Okay.
what we're talking about.
Okay.
You know, so if that's
But now-
something that she can work with,
Sure.
then, us requesting that to be rezoned as for mixed
Wouldn't
residential
matter.
wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
She could come in, and even if it's zoned for mixed residential, she could come in and get an occupational license to be able to do that out of her home.
Yeah.
I do have my little granddaughter in a trailer on my land. She's only 18 years old, got a little baby, not married. So I got her off the street and going to dental school. So that's where I stand right now.
And that's
So-
fine. I mean, that can continue to happen.
Mhm.
But and even if there's multiple residents on the site, if Ms. Broussard has and her daughter has a residence on the site, each one of them can
Oh,
apply
that's
for
my
a home
question. Oh,
occupation.
okay, all right, thank you. That was
Out
my
of their
question.
home.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
okay, even if they're on the same property.
So, it still would, that would be fine.
So, you're going to be okay, Ms. Broussard, with your concern?
Am I going to be okay? All right. I hope I don't meet up with y'all.
Okay, Mr. Porsche?
Mr. Shea's comments about that corner lot, I would just want to know the staff's opinion. Right down Post Oak there, I guess that would be south, there's some commercial type development. If we allowed or amended for just that corner lot or any lot that was fronting Post Oak to remain C1 or whatever it currently is, I just wanted to get the staff's opinion on that, since Post Oak is more of a commercial corridor.
That's actually zoned, that corner is zoned light industrial.
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion, if it was commercial, I don't know that that would necessarily be a problem, but, you know, the trend at that particular corner is more residential in nature.
Sure. Yeah.
If somebody wanted to put in a convenience store or, you know, something like that, that might be okay, but light industrial.
It's a little heavy.
I mean,
yeah.
that's like,
I agree.
Okay. All right, board, Ms. Cobb?
So his lot is not zone commercial now.
his lot is zoned light industrial.
All right.
All right.
It allows for a multitude of things.
What I see is basically there's about 6 acres total in this request. 2 acres belongs to a particular family, and half of it belongs to 2 people that came here tonight, basically.
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with no other questions, I believe we need to, Ms. Sharon?
Just for the staff, is it just because it looks like Miss Residential and you want to leave it like that so it doesn't get out of control with the light industrial, or I mean, just a particular?
Well, you know what happens in situations like these is when somebody decides, oh, I'm going to go ahead and put a sandblasting shop in the middle of that, then, you know, we get the calls and people say, well, I didn't know it was zoned industrial when I moved out here. And we're just trying to be proactive to prevent that type of activity.
Was this brought on by something, or you just looked at it?
Well, if you recall, I think it was a couple months ago, you guys rezoned right across Post Oak to allow an RV park.
Right.
And then to the south, you had originally rezoned to light industrial, and then you came back and rezoned it for an RV park. So that just appears to be the trend.
Okay. All right.
Trying to protect this little neighborhood right here. This has been like that for many, many years. And it was just noticed that there was those strips of light industrial in there and commercial on the top. And you know, obviously we consulted with the police bureau of that district and looked at those areas and just felt like it was probably a good idea for us to reconsider those areas and try to, you know, maintain them as residential.
So,
Mr. Porsche?
It just appears to me that we're trying to eliminate spot zoning,
Yeah.
a random case of spot zoning just from historic.
And keep in mind, we have there's a lot of areas throughout the parish where back in the when we did comprehensive zoning back in the early 80s, that, you know, there were properties allowed to be zoned a certain way, never developed or anything like that. So if you look at the map, we have these little spots in there that have these types of things, and they just never developed out. And again, like Ms. Wallace said, with the economy that we have today and things go, we just want to be able to protect these areas like this, especially if it's a residential area where you do have that potential of industrial moving into these areas. If it's zoned that way, people are going to find out and try to do something that may not be compatible with the residents in that area. So.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Little?
On that comment, and whether it would ever happen, I don't know, but to the east of this is an heavy industrial that we just rezoned 2 years ago, and it's building like crazy. All these roads dead into that area, which could lead to a potential of something that impact the residents that live there. Even the Carolyn Street along, there's a street on the east of it, on the other side of that property, that could possibly tie together to make that whole thing to a commercial or heavy industrial or anything. I mean, currently there's probably 400 acres in between those 2 roads that is zoned heavy industrial. So this could protect that particular, all those residents in that area from being encroached upon from the industrial side of that.
That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'd do a roll call vote and would like to also note that Ms. Betty Brown has joined our meeting. Thank you. Roll call vote, Ms. Christie.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Ms. Brown, are you voting on this issue? Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
8 for.
All right, item passes. Thank you. Item number 27, take appropriate action on request by Calcasieu Parish Division of Planning and Development to amend Chapter 26 of the Calcasieu Parish Code of Ordinances to include references to workforce housing. I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Porsche, Ms. Porsche has moved, Mr. Coach Williams has seconded. Ms. Wallace.
I know that Ms. Brown is so excited that she got here just in time for my PowerPoint presentation. And I know that it's 7 o'clock. Y'all are so excited. So I'm going to try to move through quickly. So workforce housing, we spoke to you briefly about it last month, and you have the proposed amendment on your tablets. And I think that if you look at it, you can see it's fairly simple. I just want to quickly run through the history, the proposal, and the next steps very quickly. In 2011, Sasol made their mega project announcement. They were the first mega project of the area. And since then, we have about $90 billion worth of investment that has been announced for the region, the 5-parish area. Since that time, a regional impact study has been done. It was funded by Sasol. And then we have the housing strategy that was done by the Southwest Louisiana Alliance for Economic Development. And both of those studies noted the need for temporary housing, and both suggested the use of workforce housing facilities as a solution. And the current estimate with the new demand model that the Alliance is working on now estimates that we will need 20,000 beds. That's the unmet need. So that takes into consideration what is already being provided. That at the peak of construction in 2017, we would need 20,000 beds. The parish code, as you know, does not specifically address this issue. It's very new to us. We received a directive from the elected officials here, the police jurors, asked the staff to encourage these facilities to locate close to the construction sites. The staff has developed a consistent approach that we've implemented with your help, where property is already zoned industrial, as the case was with the Vinton Port. All that's needed is a zoning exception for a residential use in that industrial zoning classification. Where property is not zoned industrial, we have asked for the land to be rezoned. Once it's rezoned, it comes back to you for the final say on the zoning exception. 3 facilities, 4 with tonight's, have been approved since 2014. 7,000 beds plus the 2,500 that was approved tonight puts us at 9,500, but there's still a big gap there. We met with the police jury's planning and zoning liaison group. They have encouraged us to work on an ordinance to address workforce housing. We feel like this is just a first step. So we are asking you to codify the existing process, which is to continue to encourage these facilities to locate in industrial zoning, and to basically define it. Let me flip to, so we're going to define workforce housing. You can see it's quite a lengthy definition, but basically what it says is it's a group of structures where a hotel might be considered to be one big building. This is a group of structures. The timeline for these facilities, it is temporary, but it's connected to construction timelines because, you know, temporary, that definition varies from person to person. We want these facilities to minimize infrastructure impacts on water, sewer, roads, with shuttle buses, things like that. And then we also state in the definition what it is not. So that way we can be very clear with the people that try to blur the lines. So it is not a hotel, it's not a motel, it's not an RV park, it's not a manufactured home park, which in this definition I need to point out, I missed it, and it says mobile home park, but when it goes to the police jury, it will say manufactured home park. So I just want to state that to you. So the other thing that we're proposing is to put it permitted as an exception in the industrial zoning classifications, as we have been doing, but to open up more property and to further encourage these facilities to go by the construction work. We are asking to add it as a zoning exception in C3 zoning. It has to be a large tract, 5-acre minimum, and it has to abut industrial zoning. So hopefully that makes sense to you. You guys will make a recommendation tonight. The police jury will take final action March 24th. As I said, we see this as a first step, and we would anticipate coming back to you guys with some general design standards that will probably be modeled after the typical stipulations that you guys impose. I know that was fast. Y'all have any questions, comments?
Any questions, comments for Ms. Wallace? Very great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor to accept the report?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Item passes. Item number 20.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I may have mistaken the motion, but receiving the report was one thing. We actually have to take the action on the.
Is that the next item, or is that the same item?
Either way, I thought it was
Okay.
flipped, maybe, on my.
All right, well, tell me how, okay, what do we need to
I
correct?
believe the original motion was to approve.
Was to approve, yes.
Okay.
The original motion was to approve. I think you stated the motion as motion to receive report.
Yes,
I
did. Now,
got confused.
Okay.
I apologize.
All right, so, do I need to redo that, or just clarify?
You have a motion on the table right now to approve, so I think you can take a vote now.
Okay. Our motion is to approve the request by the Division of Planning and Development to accept the definition and the references for workforce housing.
And make the recommendation to do so to the.
And we make the recommendation to do so. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item passes.
I apologize, but it may have been my confusion, Mr. Chairman, but I think we've cleared it up now.
Okay, thank you. Item number 28 is to receive the report from the staff on the proposed amendments to Chapter 26 of the Calcasieu Parish Code of Ordinances.
It's me again. Congratulations. Very quickly, the staff has been putting together a list of some minor modifications to the zoning ordinance, some things that have kind of come up in our work. I want to run through that list tonight, and we are going to give it our best effort to come back to you next month, just like with the workforce housing, and ask you to take action on those items. So just to give you a heads up, our code does not specify who can request an appeal to the police jury on a preliminary subdivision approval. State enabling legislation states that it has to be the applicant requesting that appeal. So we will modify the ordinance and come to you with that proposal to make our ordinance match the state legislation to state that only the applicant can apply. Next, the code allows for a construction debris landfill by exception in agricultural zoning. But where the property is zoned industrial, those people have to rezone to I2R, heavy industrial restricted, which kind of comes with some negative connotations. So what we will propose to y'all is that those uses be allowed as exceptions before the board. So that way the public can have their say, but it just keeps us from spot zoning to this very negative somewhat zoning. In RM multifamily zoning, as it stands right now, modular homes are not allowed by right, nor are they allowed by exception. But these homes are actually constructed to residential building codes, just like a house that's built on site. So it just doesn't seem like it makes much sense. And when we need housing, the way we need housing, we'll come to you guys and see if we can modify that and open up some housing choices for people. The existing code does not have a formal public notification requirement for the overlay review team meetings. We have been following the procedures that we do for you guys, where we run a legal notice in the paper 10 days in advance and that kind of thing. But we would like to put it in the code so that way we can make sure that it's consistent, and we feel like it's good for transparency's sake. On RV parks, we're going to ask for 2 amendments. One relates to the requirement for a service building. Previously, the state plumbing code required bathrooms and laundry facilities. The code changed as of January 1st, and now a waiver is available for those buildings as long as the RV park is related to construction and as long as the units are independent and they have holding tanks. And there's a couple other criteria, but we're going to ask you guys to formalize that exemption process. Then the other amendment for RV parks is park model units. I know there was a lot of talk about park models for FEMA housing. Well, now park models are being called RVs. But these are the units that look like Katrina cottages. I don't know if y'all are familiar, the tiny little shotgun houses.
Yeah.
Well, they're built to an RV standard, but they're not as easily transportable and they don't meet the temporary.
You're
Mr.
mistaken.
Navarro, you have a question?
You're mistaken. They are transport. They look just like an RV. I've got 2 or 3 of them around the corners from my house. They're built on chassis of an RV that can be pulled by a pickup truck. The only difference is when they say park model, they don't have holding tanks. That's really the only difference. I mean, they might have a sliding glass door instead of a swing door towards a park model, but that is really the only difference that I know because I've had about 15 of them, not park models, but.
As it stands right now, because our ordinance does not address that use, we are having to rely on the state fire marshal to regulate that. And Mr. Crane had a conversation with him earlier this week, and he basically stated that as it stands right now, he doesn't want to allow park models. So if we do want to allow park models, we need to modify our definitions to allow it under certain circumstances.
Well, what the fire marshal is indicating is that they don't meet the Industrialized Building Act, especially when they move them into an RV park or something like that. And when they're being rented out, for workers. And so what the fire marshal has said is that if someone is doing that, then that has to meet the IBC, the International Building Code, and it has to be reviewed by his agency. And so just like if you have a temporary workforce housing facility, that's what they're doing. They're putting IBC-approved structures in there, and they're having to be reviewed by the fire marshal. He wants the fire marshal wants these units to be reviewed just like those, if they're being utilized for workers.
And I understand what he's saying, but there's actually 2. One of them is an RV that doesn't have but one window. That's what it's made for, to be a park model. Has regular household plumbing and all that in it. But then there's the other type that look just like a real swanky RV. I can show you 2 of them around the corner from my house. That are hooked up,
and we may
permanent.
have to. What we may have to do is really in detail look at these units and see which ones are going to comply, which ones are not. And you may be right, Mr. Barr, that there may be something out there that's called a park model. It may be consistent with what an RV is supposed to be. So, but we can look at.
And I think our goal is actually more to try to allow them in certain situations rather than to prohibit them. So.
Okay.
But that's it on that topic. Longer-term items that you should anticipate, hopefully, sometime this year. Ward 3 corridor standards similar to Ward 1, but for Common Street and a portion of Goche Road. Community sewer amendments, a floodplain revision to address accessory buildings, and then drainage standards that are being worked on. So those are longer-term. But the other items, RVs and before, would come to you next month, hopefully.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions concerning that report? Other questions? All right.
No.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Appreciate that. Item number 29. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on February the 18th, 2016, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the February 16th, 2016 meeting. The applicants, J&T Developers at East Tank Farm Road, Ultra Safe at Big Lake Road, Division of Planning and Development Industrial Area at Lockport. Planning and zoning action passed, all of those. Police jury action upheld, all of those. Item number 30. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled planning and zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, April the 19th, 2016, in the police jury meeting room. Item number 31, adjournment. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Navarre, Mr. Porsche, seconded. Meeting adjourned. Thank y'all.